Now around the front here you can see there's a little bit clipping in. Now that's not due to our weighting, that's just due to the fact that it is going very, very close to the body. So if we switch back into edit mode, what we'll do, it looks a lot worse than it is. But what we'll do is we'll grab the two vertices that are close to that point where we're having the problem, and we'll just bring them out just a little bit. Make sure our connector is on so when we bring it out it's nice and smooth. And then we'll switch back into weight paint mode, and that resolves that issue. So rotate, we'll bend around a little bit more, so we'll switch back to edit mode. We'll select this one down here, and we'll just bring it out. Okay. Ready, back to weight paint mode. Now we've got some craziness with the sleeves. Now around the armpits and the shoulders is the hardest bit to do. So let's reset our pose mode back to standard. So Alt R to reset that one back to default. So we can start painting in the weighting on our shoulders, collar and sleeves. Okay, so we've got our chest done. We'll switch back to our chest here because we want to blur that out as well. So I want to go back to paint through. Just want to blur it out up here and on the other side as well. Okay, I want to skip the collar for now because I want to do the shoulder weighting. So I want to do the right shoulder. So back to our object. This is the left shoulder. We'll just scroll down and shoulder right. Always make sure you switch. Don't just start painting if you've got the wrong thing selected, because you will rig to the wrong spot and then have to go back and subtract all your weight painting off of that area. So always make sure you've got the right one selected. So we want to just paint in, and we want to paint in until the middle here. Okay. I'm going to turn the strength back up a little bit. Alright. So we'll just paint that in there. And then we want elbow right, which is this bone here. We want to paint midway in here to midway in here. Okay, and then the wrist right is just the very wrist part there. Now we want to blur all these out. So just blur a little there. Elbow. Blurring it in. And blurring. This is why people say weight painting is hard, because it's not hard, it's just tedious. Alrighty, so now we've got that arm done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this so we can have a look. So let's rotate on the y-axis. Now you can see it's pulling in there. Because what we need to do, the underarms need to be blurred a little bit less. So I want to go back to the chest because we don't want the chest to be pulling in as much on there. So we're going to go to subtract. We're going to take it down really low. We're just going to bring the weight painting off of this area here. Okay. And we're going to go onto the right shoulder and just take it off of here a little bit. I'm going to turn off paint through for now because we just want to do it just for this under area. We don't want to paint through the whole lot. Okay. So now we're going to have a little bit of a cleaner bend. So rotate Y, we'll bring it in. Now don't be too worried about a bit of clipping here because obviously the Toddleedoo body has its own alpha, and with the alpha turned on you won't see that clipping. Okay, now as you can see up here it's starting to pull away from the shoulder, and it's also starting to clip through here a little bit. So this is where we want to do some color painting. So we're going to reset back to default and we're going to choose the color. Okay, now we want to choose bright color, go back to our add brush, have a little bit, and we want to paint the color in over here and across here and just down slightly onto the body. And then we just want to blur that out. Now we're overlaying both the chest and the shoulder with the color weighting. So now if we rotate the collar itself, we can see it pushes in a little bit. Now the collar part is very, very tricky. So it takes quite a lot of time doing this one. So we just want to remove from there a little bit. You know what we haven't done? We didn't have paint through on. So I'm going to Control Z and undo all of this. Because it's very important that we have paint through on. Okay. I can't undo it all, so what we'll do... So we just want to blur all of this right through. Okay, add a little bit more in here. And blur some more. So it's all blurred nicely. Now, I find a little bit more on the neck because we want to work there. Alright. Now if we rotate on the y-axis, we can see it starts pulling in here. We want to turn paint through off again so that we can just subtract gently from this area. I'm just going to blur out again just to smooth it out a little. Now again, don't worry too much about clipping in the underarms because the alpha, when it's turned on the Toddleedoo body, will take care of that. Okay, we've got a little bit of clipping here. Okay, we've got a little bit of clipping here, so I'm just going to quickly switch to the chest. And as you can see, there's not actually much paint up there, so I'm just going to turn it right down, and I'm just going to add a little bit in here, because it needs a little bit of weighting from the chest up in there as well. I'm just going to do that quickly on the other side as well. Okay, blur out here. Want all our vertices to be nice and smooth. Okay. I'm just going to reset that to default. We're going to bring the shoulder down. So as we can see, we now have like a much nicer bend. We still have some stuff going on here, which means the shoulder is pulling on this area and we don't want it to pull on there. So we're just going to go in, we're going to select our shoulder. And we're just going to... So you can see we've still got some pulling here, and that's because it is not assigned to the shoulder properly. So we want to bring the shoulder area out a little bit more. So I'm just going to blur it across like this. If you're having trouble blurring, just change to your add tool, go very, very low opacity and just paint over a little bit. Okay. Alrighty, that looks good. Smooth that in here. I'm just going to rotate out a little bit. I want to smooth that in here. And I think we've got a little bit too much of color in this area. Just going to remove the color area a little bit from here. I'm going to blow that out. Okay, so now we can see we've got a nice bend to our shoulder area, a little bit of clipping, but that's fine. We don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that's the rough idea of weight painting. Now, if you're not able to understand what I just did, if you can't understand like the vertex groups, let me know and I'll jump on Skype with you and I'll go through it again with you slowly and explain it in a bit more detail.